Today, we're going to talk about how to improve your digital advertising results with Google's latest offerings. We're going to deep dive into all the different facets of Google and how we can best optimize our campaigns, how we can find some of the new tools and techniques that are being rolled out, and what are some of the best practices with those technologies. Now, to start out, you're probably wondering, who am I? My name is Jack. I am the Business Development Team Manager here at Adpearance. I've been at Adpearance for almost 5 years now, and I've been able to grow immensely throughout my career here and learning a bunch of different tools and techniques with digital marketing that I didn't have prior to coming into Adpearance. In fact, I'm probably a testament to our hiring philosophy, and that we try and hire smart people and educate them on what are the best best ways to learn digital marketing, learning about the newest and greatest features that are coming out. And we train up our team really well. So we have a rigorous training element. In fact, we call our team the nerd herd because of how much we love to jump into that data and really focus on what are the best results that we can get for the dealers that we are working with. Now, I started out as a strategist, primarily focused on promo-only accounts, so accounts that weren't working with us full-time, but we were working some of the promos through certified programs. Now, I built my way up. I went then to working with full-time accounts, both in rural markets as well as urban markets, really getting a full understanding of the different nuances of advertising in each one of those. Then I was moved over to the sales team, where I was able to really teach dealers what are some of the ways that we would be improving upon their advertising, looking at their marketing and finding opportunities to generate more leads, find ways that we can fine-tune their tools and technologies to really give them the best results. And now at this point, I am managing a sales team. We have a bunch of people who are really, really good at diving into those markets as well. And we've really been able to help out a lot of dealers that we work with, as well as dealers that we aren't working with, and just giving you advice on what are some of the best ways to improve your digital advertising. And that's really what I want to talk about today, is what are some of the best ways that we can improve upon that advertising. Now, I've talked about a little bit about myself. I want to jump into a little bit about Adpearance. When I think about Adpearance, I really think that there are two things that separate Adpearance from a lot of other providers that are out there. One is the technologies that we have, but the other side of the coin is really that client experience. As I mentioned, we like to hire a lot of really smart people and teach them the best practices within Google advertising, so that you're really talking to some of the best and the brightest minds that are out there within this field. I think that's one of the reasons that we've led to having a 98% client retention rate, because we're always trying to give ideas to dealers about what's some of the new things that you could be trying out, what are some of the best ways to be advertising. You tell us what your goals are, and we're going to come to you with solutions on what are the best ways to accomplish those goals. Now, the other side of it is that we are a Google Premier partner. We're really good at all of the technologies that we have. We spend $250,000 a month in A/B testing our different campaigns and keywords to ensure that we're delivering the best results for our dealers. And we've also built an in-house tracking solution that allows us to really hone in on what are the right type of customers that are actually purchasing vehicles, plugging that data back into our AI algorithms, and then going out and finding the right type of people in the market who are most likely to lead to sales. We've been a ton of different certified programs. We continue to add more each and every quarter. And one of the best things about being in these certified programs is you're able to utilize co-op dollars towards the advertising spend that we're doing. Along with that, we're able to handle all of your co-op submissions, and your billing is turnkey, meaning that it just shows up on your part statement. So if you aren't using a certified provider, maybe it's a good time to look into what those certifications mean and how that would make your life a little bit easier. All right, now let's jump into improving your digital advertising. And today we're going to talk about why Google is the right advertising platform for auto dealers. Then we're going to talk about how to reach your target users. After that is tracking success. And this is a really, really important part to how you can level up your advertising. And then lastly, we want to talk about working with a Premier partner, why it is that it's so nice to roll out with a Google Premier partner and what some of those benefits might be. All right, so why is Google advertising the right platform for auto dealers? as you might know, Google is the #1 search engine across the world, right? People are searching things all the time on Google's platform, but it's not the only platform of where people search. You also see that Bing and Yahoo do have market share within there. There's also some other platforms out there that people are searching on. So it's not a one-stop be all. In fact, a lot of the times when I start to see dealers start to oversaturate their market, instead of me saying, hey, let's spend some more dollars here, let's increase our budget here, that's where I say, hey, let's pump the brakes. Let's look around at other platforms, because while Google is the main one that you want to start advertising on, if you're getting to the point where you have generated a bunch of leads and you're seeing cost per lead going up, that's when we want to look around at other platforms, and Bing might be a really good option to do so. It's only about 15% of the audience of Google, but your cost per acquisition on Bing is very similar to what you're going to get on Google. So it's a great secondary market that not a lot of dealers are playing in, but might be a great option to do so. However, if you have a limited budget or you're not fully saturating your market, put a lot of your focus into Google first, because that's where most of the customers are. You always want to go to where the customers are rather than trying to catch the one-off deals over on Bing. But if you're fully saturating on Google and you're spending enough to be covering there, might be a great time to then look over at some other options that are out there. Now, when we get into paid search and the best ways to cover your paid search, obviously this is the most fruitful platform for dealers, right? This is a customer telling you what they want by what they're typing in the search bar, and you need to be the most relevant answer to that question. When we see a customer typing in something like this ADP limited vehicle, this is a made-up vehicle, of course, but they're looking for this specific vehicle and asking for sale. Well, that means that customer is asking for one of two pieces of information. They want to know how much it's going to cost them or where they can go to get it. So your job as a dealership should be highlight those features. Here's how many we have in stock. Here's how much it's going to cost you. Here's how much you're saving off of MSRP. When we start to include those features into our ads, we tend to see that customers click through at a much higher rate, typically about 16% higher, because the ad is relevant to the user and the question that they're asking. Ad relevancy is a really important factor in how you're running your campaigns. The more relevant your ad is, the more Google goes, hey, this ad is perfect. Let's go ahead and move them up higher in the rankings without having you have to spend as much because of the relevancy of that ad. A lot of the times I also see dealers getting into these situations when somebody's asking for ADP limited for sale, and they're telling them about all the specs of the vehicle. They're telling them about the mileage that it gets, that it has this awesome sunroof. Well, that's not really answering that customer's question, because your job as a dealership is not to convince that customer that they need to buy the newest and greatest vehicle. Your job as the dealership is to convince them that they need to buy that vehicle from your dealership. So focus on the key things that's going to get that customer to buy from you. We have the best inventory and we have the lowest pricing. Those are the things that get customers over to your website. So highlight those features. Now, after that, we're going to talk about vehicle ads. It used to be that dealerships were spending to have their inventory listed on all of these third-party websites, to try and get customers from those websites over to their dealership. And, this is the way that it worked for many, many years. But, Google's rolled out was something relatively new in the last couple of years called vehicle ads, also known as VLAs to some people. Vehicle ads allow your inventory to have an image, pricing, location, mileage for used inventory, all sitting directly on the top of paid search. So when I ask for that ADP limited vehicle for sale, you're able to see everybody's inventory right there at the top of paid search. Now, what you'll also see is that those third parties are also listing their inventory right there at the top. They're actually listing your inventory if you're paying for those third-party sites, because they realized that customers are not going to those third parties as often. And so now they're trying to take back some market share by getting them to come over to those third-party sites. But you as a dealership should probably want that customer searching not on everybody's inventory, all of your competitors and your inventory all on one website, but instead get that customer just shopping on your own inventory, right? When they end up on your website, they see just your vehicles for sale, they're much more likely to purchase just from you. So let's go ahead and move our ads into this area, start to spend to get your ads appearing out here, because then you're going to be able to drive that customer just to your own inventory. And oftentimes when we run these campaigns compared to kind of your traditional model campaigns, we see a 37% more conversion, 71% lower cost per conversion. And lower cost per conversion makes sense, right? They're able to look at all the different vehicles that are out there, but they only click on specific inventory that they care about, right? Maybe I don't care about the blue version of this vehicle. I don't want the blue car. So I'm going to pick the gray version. Well, that already eliminates a certain section of those vehicles that are going to be in there. So when I do click on that vehicle, I'm much more likely to convert. I've gotten to the VDP. I've seen everybody else's inventory that's around that vehicle. So now I want to get to the VDP that's actually relevant to me. And when I do click, I'm more likely to convert when I get into that page. So I definitely recommend dealers get into vehicle ads, as this is becoming a primary spot to start your advertising. All right, so some dealers are doing a really great job of covering paid search. And once you get into those areas of really saturating paid search, this is where we start to look at what are some other opportunities that are out there, right? You might be fully saturating, say, I'm still not getting enough leads. Well, not getting enough leads means that we have to really generate more leads. So I start to think higher funnel at that point. This might be a really great opportunity to do some YouTube advertising. YouTube is an area where customers are going to often. YouTube is becoming a massive platform for years. I mean, it's been one of the biggest platforms for how people are searching around and watching videos forever. So you really want to make sure that your dealership is getting onto these platforms. And when we think about YouTube, there are a couple of rules that I really like to put into place for dealers when they're running their YouTube ads. You have to think about the customer. Always think about the customer orientation. What is this customer doing? When they're on YouTube, they're not on there to watch the ads that you're showing them. Instead, that customer is trying to watch the video that is going to be happening afterwards. So your job as a dealership should really be putting your information in front of customers to get them to think about your dealership long after they've watched that ad, right? So in the first 5 seconds, it is all about branding. The reason being is that after the first 5 seconds, a customer can skip that ad, right? Then you don't have to pay for that customer, but your job is done, right? You have branded your dealership right there from the very beginning. So those first 5 seconds is all about branding. After that, you get into the vehicle that they care about. You'll notice in these ads right about now, we talk about here's the car you would want, the price range you'd be willing to pay, and your biggest savings off MSRP. Those are some of the features that are going to get that customer interested in purchasing that vehicle from your dealership. You're selling on, here's the inventory that we have and the price range that fits your needs. So now as a consumer, I'm like, great, they've checked those boxes for me. Now your main goal then is to brand one more time, because again, you don't want to be spending on that customer for them to just go back and type in Volkswagen dealership near me, right? You'd be spending on that customer, generating that interest, but that customer is now open to anybody else who is out there. Your job should really be trying to spend on that customer to get them to remember your name, right? Real City Volkswagen is what we want them typing into that search bar after they go back to Google search. Because again, they're not clicking on those ads right away. Instead, they are going back to Google search. The other thing I recommend is making bid adjustments onto your paid search campaigns if they've watched your video through completion, right? So if you paid already to advertise to that customer on YouTube, and then you see that customer making a search, it should be a really good strategy to then bid up on that person to ensure that your name is at the top, right? Because if they've seen you, they remember your name, they remember you have the best inventory and a really good price, and then they see that your ad pops up right there at the very top when they go back to Google page search, well, then we're much more likely to get that customer onto our website, buying from us, remembering us, coming back again. So really kind of having cohesion across all of your different advertising platforms makes a lot of sense. So I talked about this a little bit earlier on, but always have that customer orientation in mind. Remember earlier I was talking about your job as the dealership is to sell that vehicle, right? The job of the OEM is to generate interest in that vehicle. They're going to sell customer on maybe why is this the best sedan inventory for you to be buying? It has all of these really cool features, right? If you're still trying to sell that customer on what are the specs of the vehicle, that customer hasn't decided that this is the right car for them. Instead, you want to see that customer saying, hey, I want to know who has this inventory and where they're going to be purchasing it from, or where they can go to purchase it and what the pricing is going to be when they buy that vehicle. That's where you as a dealership should really come in and start to show up for that customer. If we're still trying to sell them on buying this sedan inventory because of all the specs that it has, again, that's the job of the OEM. The job of the dealership is to say, you need to buy from me instead of competitor down the street, because that's your job. You want to get rid of all your inventory there. So we do that on every platform. We think about that customer. What gets them to click? It's this vehicle fits my needs and it falls within a price range that I'm willing to pay. So that's on paid search, that's on vehicle ads, that's on YouTube, that's on Facebook. Facebook is another really great place where you can influence that consideration, right? You can get in front of those in-market shoppers with the inventory that you have. The other thing is I always recommend highlighting the pricing when you're on Facebook. Oftentimes I see people highlighting the mileage. While mileage is important to when people are buying used inventory, it might not be the best selling point. Think about the selling point of that customer. And it's this car fits my needs and it's a price range I'm willing to pay. Highlight those features, bring those to the forefront, get that customer really looking at those and then converting onto your website. All right, now let's talk about targeting. And this is something that's really become a pretty big feature, a pretty big talking point recently, especially with all of this new AI that's coming out, this artificial intelligence, also, smart bidding campaigns. You really want to try and focus on how do we harness our data to target the right type of customers. So one of the easiest campaigns you can set up is a remarketing campaign. Somebody who's visited your website but has not converted yet. You want to try and bring them back time and time again, whether that's through Facebook, whether that's through display ads, whether that's through YouTube ads. You can set up remarketing campaigns in the platforms that they've been on, just retargeting at that person who's been to your website previously. You can also set up custom audience segments. For example, if somebody is interested in a truck inventory and we want to create a truck segment for those users, well, let's go ahead and target those people who are interested in that truck. Let's show them truck inventory, trying to get them to come back to our site again. You also have the possibility of using your first-party data through Google customer match lists. The customer match list is an awesome way to get very targeted into specific people. For example, somebody purchased from your purchased from you between 2 years ago and 10 years ago. I want to take that list of customers. Now, I want to create a customer match list with a parts and service campaign to say, let's show these customers a service ad to get them to come back and service their vehicle with our dealership. It's a great way of staying in front of those people, utilizing that first-party data, plugging it back into your systems and saying, hey, we want to take this list of customers and let's go out and provide them with a really strong ad that's going to get them to convert again, get them coming back to be servicing with us, get that repetitive money coming back through to the dealership through your service campaigns. So you sell to them originally with that vehicle and then you bring them back again and again through your service campaigns. Now, this data that you're capturing and you have in your CRM, then you want to utilize it in the right way on your Google campaigns. And let's go back to the way that bidding used to be, right? It used to be based on, where was this person located? what are the search terms or keywords that customer is typing in. You can even do things like day parting to show up during specific times of day. But really it was based on, where's that user located, what's the keywords that they're typing, and that's where we would target, right? But over the years, we've seen that people are changing the way they're searching. We used to do the Google micro moments where we'd look at all the long tail keywords that customers are typing, and dealerships would focus when they're showing buying signals, and OEM would focus when they're still doing window shopping. But the waters have become muddied a little bit, right? People aren't searching the same way they did 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I used to write an entire sentence into the Google search bar, and I'd put a little question mark at the very end of that, right? But today, I'm only typing about 2 or 3 keywords, and I'm expecting to get the exact same results. In fact, I am getting the exact same results because Google's really picking up how people are searching, and they're searching shorter and shorter. They're typing less and less, but they're hoping to get the exact same information, having the same buying intent. So now we take into account, what is this user doing online? How are we taking into account all the different buying signals that this customer is showing? And one of the best ways to do this is by leveraging what's called Google Smart Bidding. Smart Bidding takes into account all of these different buying signals, but you really want to make sure that you're plugging in the right data into Google's algorithms to ensure that you're getting the right type of customers coming out, right? So if I were to plug in every single lead that came through to our dealership, and I said, Google, go optimize towards all of these leads. Well, now you're telling Google to optimize towards parts and service campaigns. You're telling Google to optimize to new vehicle sales. You're telling Google to optimize towards, Bob, the salesperson, person's wife, calling in to see when they're coming home for dinner. All of these different things are what you're telling Google to optimize for. So really think about the data set that you're putting into into Google. We actually break it down into qualified sales prospects, meaning you want to take your list of customers who are shown purchase intention based on the buying signals that they've shown. And you can even take, sales data and plug that back into your smart bidding campaigns and saying, okay, now Google, you have this list of sales prospects. Go out in the market and find customers who are following this similar journey, and let's bid up on these type of people. Right? That allows you to really hone in on who's an actual purchase intender based on all of these other buying signals that they're showing, and utilizing your first party data in a way that drives stronger results. As you can see in the top corner here, when we switched over to smart bidding and we plugged in that really, really good data, we saw 37% increase in conversions just by simply, again, being at that person at the relevant time when they're ready to be purchasing. But it doesn't happen overnight. It's not something where you sign up and you start right away. You got to teach Google what is the right type of conversions that you want to be optimizing towards. So taking that information, plugging it in, and making sure that you're optimizing towards the right type of customers is going to be vitally important to seeing the best results out of your campaigns. Right from there, there's newer campaigns, one of which is called Performance Max. What Performance Max is it takes this smart bidding idea, but it applies it to all of the different platforms of Google, your paid search, your display, Discover, Gmail, YouTube, and even vehicle ads is going to be started on Performance Max starting in September. This is a really great way to utilize this machine learning to show up to customers on all of these different platforms. Again, it really takes plugging in that smart data, that right data into that platform and saying, go find me the right type of conversions to generate more sales for my dealership. Having that in mind is really going to be important as you get further and further along in what information are you plugging into here. Again, because we're trying to optimize towards the right type of customers and the right type of conversions. But when you set up Performance Max, what it does is it says, Google, go maximize the number of conversions using your AI algorithms and place ads on all of these different platforms at the time when you think it's going to be most likely for me to get a conversion. So you're using that machine learning to your advantage to drive customers to your site on all of these different platforms. Now we come into tracking success. And one of my favorite questions to ask dealerships and GMs and marketing managers is, What is the main KPI that you're using to say this is a successful campaign versus an unsuccessful campaign? Because in your analytics, in your ads account, from your providers, there's a whole gamut of metrics that you can look at. And it's oftentimes confusing of which one is the one that's most valuable. So I break it down like this. No longer do we really focus on clicks, because I could spend an arm and a leg on display in YouTube and get you clicks all over the board, get in front of a big mass audience of people that can click, but maybe they never actually convert, right? My job as a marketer is to give your salespeople as many at-bats as possible, because I can't be on the floor selling for your salespeople. But what I can do is I can give them as many at-bats as possible. And for me, an at-bat only counts when your salesperson is talking to a customer from a lead that I generated. So that's a phone call, a form submission, or a chat. Those are the only three things I'm going to count as a lead, again, because that's the only time when your salesperson is talking to that customer. But even further than that, we really have to be cost efficient, right? Because if I just continue to spend more and more money to generate a bunch of more leads, but I'm not looking at how much it's costing me, well, then am I really getting a good return on investment for this platform? So one way to do so is look at a number called your cost per lead. How much does it cost you to get one more lead in the door? Now, if we see that cost per lead starts to go up and up and up, it means you're getting diminishing returns for every extra dollar that you're putting in. However, conversely, if you see that number going downwards, it means you're getting better and better returns. You can continue to invest in this platform because you haven't oversaturated your market. You're seeing better returns. It's costing you less to get more customers in that door. So we find that it's a really great place to continue to invest. But if we see cost per lead going up, that's where I talked about pumping the brakes on that spend. You don't need to continue to invest in this platform. You should look around at other platforms or hold on to those funds because you're starting to overspend your market. So it's really important to track how well you're bringing those customers in, how well you're getting a return on that investment. Now, even further than that, you want to have full visibility. We really like to give customers full visibility into what we're doing in our campaigns. Never be afraid to ask us any question about what they can see. If there's any metric that you want to see, we're more than happy to provide that for you. Transparency is something that we really value here. So if there's any questions about what are some data points that you want to be seeing if you're working with us, please let me know. Tracking even further than this, right? We can track down to how many leads. Most dealerships, most providers stop about cost per lead, stop at how many leads can you generate. But what Adpearance is able to do, utilizing a script on our website, which we license from our sister company, 4eyes, is that we're able to qualify every one of those leads and say, is this a sales prospect, or is this a service prospect, or is this not even a lead at all? And since we're able to hone into how many sales prospects you have, we're then able to really look at the totality of your campaigns and really see, are we getting a good result? Are we getting a really good cost per qualified sales prospect? And then you're able to determine from there, okay, am I getting enough QSPs, qualified sales prospects? Or is it that I'm not getting enough of those? And is it that I am getting enough of these and my salesperson isn't closing at a strong enough rate? Really able to determine where in your sales process there might be some issues, some gaps, or gaps within your marketing to drive better results for your dealership. One of the ways we do so is through our sister company, 4eyes. You're able to get a visualization of all the different marketing channels that are bringing in leads. So what this tool is called, it's called Omni Tracking. It allows you to see every customer that came through and what was the source that brought them to your website. Because oftentimes when you're looking into your CRM, what you'll see is that the source shows dealer website. But that doesn't really answer my question. Did that customer come through a paid campaign? Did they come through organically? Did they come through maybe directly? I know that they filled out a form on my website, but what was the true source? And so with this tracking script, you're able to see what brought them to your website. And then from there, you're able to say, okay, well, we've seen organic, should be the biggest portion of your pie here. Direct is usually a pretty big portion of your pie. Oftentimes you don't want your paid to outweigh your organic. You want to see these either right in line or organic having the lead, because you never want to be paying for a customer who is going to come to your site organically. Having that understanding of, am I oversaturating my market? This might be a time where your cost per lead or your cost per QSP is getting pretty high if your paid is way past your organic. You'll also be able to look at all your different referral sources, what's bringing in those leads and how those have changed over time. So this is a really great tool to give you that visualization into your marketing channel and what's driving those results. And then from there, because 4 eyes, so this is the point where you'd have to have 4 eyes on your software, but you'd be able to tie your car sales to the source that brought those car sales in. And that's a really great tool to be having, right? Because the kind of the gap in marketing for years has always been, I can see that customers are getting to my website, and I can see that customers are turning into conversions through our different advertising platforms, but I don't always know which of those conversions through those different providers is turning into car sales. And this is where you're able to really track that source, track that medium that brought them in, and really get a fine understanding, a strong understanding of what was the true source of these leads and what got them to convert on our website, and then which of those people turned into car sales. So it's a really great tool to be able to visualize all of the different journey that this customer is taking, and then ensure that you're allocating your funds to those areas that are driving more sales for your dealership and getting you a good return on investment through the different platforms that you're running. Again, tracking is a very important part, again, because you want to know how many sales you're getting. You want to know the sources that are bringing those customers. And then you want to close the loop by taking these customers that are really strong customers and then telling Google, hey, I want to go find more of these customers in the market and make sure that we bid up on those customers. It's going to be one of the best ways to be running your different advertising campaigns. So lastly, why work with a premier partner? Being a premier partner is not an easy badge to get. There are thresholds to be getting here. You have to have over 70% optimization score across every one of your accounts. You have to have a rather large ad spend to be able to get in this coverage. And you have to have, most of your company needs to be Google Ads certified. So we have 100% of our strategists and technical executors with their Google certification. But the Google Ads partnership, the Premier partnership, means that we're in the top 3% of all digital advertising agencies across every industry, right? So it's a relatively small group of people, especially in the auto industry, that have this Premier partnership. It means that Google comes out with all of their early beta tests with Adpearance first before they roll it out to the rest of the market. So we're always on that cutting edge of new technologies, new techniques to be able to then deliver those to our dealers. It also means we get more time with testing out the results. I mentioned before, we spent $250,000 a month in research and development, A/B testing our different campaigns. And that's to ensure that we are actually getting some of the best results before we roll it out to our dealers. A lot of the times, we see people just turn on things like Performance Max or turn on things like Smart Bidding and not really knowing what is the best way to be running this, but through years of testing and years of applying the right type of data, we've been able to see some really strong results across all of those different platforms. So I hope that you found this conversation really valuable. Today, this was just kind of a snapshot of some of the best ways to be leveling up your advertising and finding the best results through your different campaigns that you're running, ways to kind of fine tune, maybe even questions to ask of your current provider. However, I want to offer an opportunity to dive deeper into your own market. So what I want to offer today is what's called a free digital marketing analysis. It's your chance to be able to see how you're competing against your competitors, where there's opportunity for more leads, what you guys are doing right, and what are some things that you could be improving upon. Really giving you a curated custom recommendation to your own dealership. So you can scan that QR code there in order to get signed up for this. You can also type in that URL at the bottom and you can get signed up for this free analysis. And with that, I want to thank everybody for attending my webinar. I'm going to stick around here. I'm going to answer any questions that anybody has. So as you have any questions, please let me know. And I'm more than happy to answer these. Oh, it looks like we got one. How would you recommend allocating my dealership's ad budget across the different ad types? It's a good question. Yeah, so when I think about customers, I think first and foremost, what is the lowest funnel customer that I can get, right? What is the best return on investment that I can get for my advertising campaigns? Paid search is a really great place to first allocate your budget because this is where customers are telling you what they want by what they're typing in the search bar. As you start to fully flush out and spend as much possible on your Google paid search without oversaturating your market, that's where we then look at how do we influence people to want to purchase from us. Facebook is a really great way to put your inventory directly onto those customers and get them to be purchasing from you. Doing things like YouTube, display advertising is a great way to get in front of a lot of people with your advertisements, but also it's a great way to build up your branding and get people knowing about your name. How fast can my dealership launch video advertising if we don't currently have video assets? Yeah, so you can do this in a multitude of ways. Performance Max, you can actually set up Performance Max without videos, but we recommend doing it with videos to get the best results. Oftentimes, again, as a certified provider, we have access to OEM folders to be able to run some of the OEM content. We also have a dynamic inventory tool if you wanted to bring that inventory, as I mentioned before, where it's the pricing and the how many vehicles you have in stock and your biggest savings off MSRP. We can scrape your website and bring those pricing and inventory matching back to that customer's interest. And that gets updated every single day through our dynamic inventory tools. So there's a multitude of ways to kind of launch those video assets. And we can have those discussions as you get further along. What is Adpearance's approach to EV advertising? Yeah, EV is definitely something that is becoming a bigger push. And EV is something that we're seeing search volume go up for quite a bit. You want to make sure that you do have campaign coverage. You want to match your inventory to the searches that a customer makes, breaking out your campaigns towards specific inventory that matches that type of question that customer wants, right? So if I'm thinking about, maybe the Ford F-150 Lightning, right? We want to say, okay, if someone's looking for an EV truck, I want to make sure that I bring that EV Lightning inventory into the headline of those ads, right? So the more that we can look at what are the keywords and then match that back to the inventory that customer cares to see, or whatever they're asking for in that search bar, and matching that back to the inventory we carry, the much more likely we're going to be getting stronger results there. So it's a great way. We want to make sure that you're compartmentalizing your EV campaigns into the type of inventory that's going to match that search term that customer looks for. But do promote your EV inventory. It's becoming a big part, and so highly recommend that you guys do that as well. And with that, it doesn't look like we have any more questions. Again, I want to thank everybody for attending today. We'll be sending out this email and a follow-up, and we'll be providing this as a resource. So please feel free to reach out. If you have any questions, you want further information, please don't hesitate to give me a call. But with that, I'll let everybody get back to the rest of their day. And again, I thank you for attending my webinar this morning.